Now in this drawing we're drawing out a full window drawing for construction studies, and it's going to be scale 1:5. So to start off this drawing, we start off with the block work. So the inside leaf of the blocks, we're going to draw 2 blocks high. So this is our inner leaf. Now we measure out a cavity of 150. And then draw our outer leaf. Now our outer leaf this time, we're not going to go up the full distance with it because we have our concrete windowsill that's going to be drawn in. Now to position the concrete windowsill, inside in the middle of the cavity, find halfway. So a scale 1:5, that would be in 15 mils. Then for our concrete windowsill, we measure down 100 mils. Then we measure out 275 mils. Now, when we've that done, on the outer leaf of blocks, we'll measure down 10 mil for the mortar. And then we draw in the other mortar layer straight across from the inner leaf. Now we'll put in the symbol for the block work. So symbol for block work, 2 lines here. Now to finish off the concrete windowsill then, we're going to be measuring out 50 for the top. So we measure out 50. We measure down 25. And then from the outer point that we got here, which was out 275, we measure up 50. Now all these measurements have to be converted to a scale 1:5. So we draw the slant on our windowsill connecting these 2 points together. Now on the windowsill we'll draw in a groove here. It's a throating groove here. It's called a capillary groove, and it's to stop any rainwater from coming down along your windowsill, coming to this point here, and then it'll drip off. It won't flow in along the wall. Now next we'll draw in our insulation. So our insulation is drawn in 100 mil insulation, and this is the position it's in. Now we'll finish off, draw off the top of the insulation, and then we'll put in the symbol for insulation. So just a series of lines of 45 degrees one direction, and you try and keep the distance between each of these lines the same distance apart. Then 45 degrees from the opposite side. Now that's our insulation put into the cavity. Now, few final things to draw on this. We'll put in reinforcement bars into the concrete windowsill. Now we know they're there. Now you can just place them in there. Next, that is the bottom half of the drawing done. Now there's a few other things that we can draw in. We'll draw in the outer render, and then on the inside wall we'll draw in the plaster. Now each of them coats there will make them 15 mils. Now put in a few dots to symbolize, and a few dots here to symbolize this. Now, the concrete windowsill, it's made from concrete, so we should put in the symbol for concrete. So a couple small triangles to represent the gravel that's in the concrete. And then a few dots around it to represent the sand that's in the mix. And that's our concrete symbol in for the windowsill. Now, when we get to this stage here, we now have to draw the top section of the window. So to draw the top section of the window, the best and most accurate method of doing this is to actually bring all the lines up from the bottom section. So we're bringing up all these lines here. So all these lines brought up, and then up near the top of the sheet, start drawing the top section of the window. Now, we'll start off with the block work. So, to start off with the block work, we draw 2 blocks on the inner leaf, and this time we draw 2 blocks on the outer leaf as well. So each block is measuring 225. So we measure down 225 from drawing the first block, then 10 mil of mortar, 225, 10 mil of mortar. Now, in this drawing here, we'll have to construct concrete lintels, because the concrete lintels are placed in this position here, this position here. And above the concrete lintels, we put in 2 lines of bricks, and then it's blocks above that. So to draw in the lintels, draw in the baseline for the lintel, baseline, and then measure up 65 mil. Then above that, measure your 10 mil for mortar, and then draw in your bricks above this. So up 65 mil, they're the same size as the lintels. And then up 10 mil then. Now, what it looks like is, it looks like that we've 3 bricks drawn here. So, to distinguish between them, first of all, we'll put in reinforcement bars in the lintels. We'll also put in the symbol for concrete. So that when anyone looks at this, they'll understand that this is made from concrete. Now, then put in the symbol for the block work. So 2 lines at 60 degrees, close together. And that's our symbol for the block work. Now, next we have to draw in the insulation. So, the insulation this time, it's 100 mil insulation. So we measure out 100 mil in our cavity. Draw a line here. Now, different in the insulation in the head of the window is, we bring a light line out from the top of the brick layer, and we join it down to the top of the first brick, and we draw a line at an angle here. Now, this represents extra insulation that's placed in. Now this extra insulation is to prevent cold bridging in the wall. Now cold bridging is where cold air hits the outer wall, then travels through and creates a cold surface here. So to prevent this from happening, extra insulation is placed in the head of the window. Now to finish off the insulation, we draw our lines at 45 again. And now 45 from the other angle. Now, and that's our insulation placed in. Now, in this question here, you would not put in the render on the outside or the plaster on the inside until you have the window section put in, because all windows are placed in a building before the house is plastered. So it's the same on the drawing. We'll be drawing the head of the window and then we'll be putting on the plaster on the outside of the house. Now at this stage here, we'll put in a layer of DPC. Now we'll put in a layer of DPC in the head of the window first of all. So the DPC layer, it's called step DPC, and we put it in a blue biro so that it'll stand out. Next, we bring it down on top of this layer of insulation. And then we bring it down vertically. And then what we'll do with it is, we'll bring it down another 20 mil. Now, it's important that we bring it down another 20 mil from this point here, because we're going to be putting on plaster on the outside of the house. This DPC layer has to be below the plaster layer, so that when the plaster gets wet or the render gets wet from the outside, it'll stop at this layer here. So this is the position for the DPC in the head of the window. Now, if we now move to the bottom section of the drawing, we have to place in DPC. So to place in the DPC in this part of the drawing, it's placed underneath the concrete windowsill. Tapering down here a small bit. It's placed up along the inside of the concrete sill here, and then it's placed across the top of the windowsill here. So the whole windowsill is wrapped with DPC. So the whole section of the windowsill is wrapped with DPC. So when this gets wet by the rain, no moisture will travel in. Now, we put in another damp-proof course going in along the top section of the wall here to prevent any moisture getting in. Now, the next section then is to actually start drawing our windows. So, to draw our windows, we always start off with the head of the window. And once we draw the head of the window, we'll position the frame of the window on the concrete sill. Now, measurements for this can vary. But to give a set measurement here, we look at a window frame that is 100 by 85. So we have 100 by 85, and a window frame starts off with a rectangular piece of wood in a factory, and then there's sections taken out of it. So the sections that are taken out of it is a rebate taken out here. So this rebate here, we're going to make it 35 by 20. So this piece of wood here is going to be removed. Then we're going to create a slope here to get the starting point of the slope from the rebate we measure in 20, and then we take off this piece of wood here. Now there is a groove taken out of the top of the window here. Now this groove is taken away, and it's to stop the window frame from twisting. So the size of this can vary. We can make it 50 wide and make it 5 in depth. That means if we measure in here 25 and in 25, that'll take out that groove here. Now that's what the head of the frame looks like when it's drawn in. So to draw this on our drawing, the window section will start from this point here on the drawing. We measure down 85 mils and draw this lightly. Then we measure in 100 mil, bring down our line, and then out 100 mil. Now we have to draw it lightly to start off with. Now next we're going to take out the sections out of this window. So to take out the sections, the first rebate we're going to take out is a rebate of 35. So we measure 35, we measure up 20 mil, all again to scale 1:5. We can measure out here 20 mil, and then we can start drawing in the head of the window in heavy. So this first line, second line, and then we draw a slant on the head of the window. Now there's no set measurement for this, and on some windows this is not drawn as a slant, it's drawn curved. So it'll depend on the window manufacturer. Then in the top section here we'll measure our 25 mil. We measure in our 25 mil. Then we measure down 5 mil. Now, and what we're looking at here, I've left a small gap here. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to draw a small semicircle here. That's for another capillary groove to stop moisture from seeping in along the window frame. Now, when we've this done, we want to show that it's timber. So we draw two lines here, close together in a semicircle or in a curve. And what it is, it's just to represent the ingrain in a piece of timber to show that it's made from timber. Now we draw that in lightly. Now when we have the frame of the window drawn up at the head, now we have to draw it in the sill. So to draw it in the sill, it's very simple. The frame of the window needs to be in the same place. So we bring down our lines first of all, and then from this point here we measure down 10 mil. We bring a line out, and then we measure up our 85 mil for the size of the window. Draw a line up, draw a line across. Now we'll bring down the measurement for the rebate, which is 35. Mark it in here, measure down our 20 mil. Then bring our line across here, bring our line down here, go over our 20 mil here, and then we'll draw in our slanted section here. Now on the inside of the frame I'm going to leave a small gap and show what has to be done here. Now in the window frame itself, another capillary groove here, and again it's to stop water from seeping in. So any water that hits here will get to this groove here and drop off. That's why there's a groove down here on the bottom of the window. Now there's also a groove in this section here to take any water from, we'll say, the frame all the way around. Now when we get to this section here, we draw in our ingrain again. Now draw it in lightly. Now, we're going to draw in our window board. Our window board fits onto our timber window. So, measurement for the window board is up 25 mil. Now, out at the end section here, we just draw a curve because the end of the window board is curved. Now, there is no set measurement for the overhang here. It'll depend on the carpenter that's on site, how much of an overhang he'll put on the window board. Okay, now how it's fitted in, we'll create a tongue and groove joint in 10 mil and down 10 mil. Now we'll put in grain into this window board as well because it's made from timber. And that's our window board placed in. Now the next section then is to put in sashes into the window to show that the window actually opens. Now to draw in these sashes, we'll look at measurements for the sash. Now measurements for the sash here. It's made from a piece of timber that is 55 by 60. What we're going to be drawing is a triple glaze window. So we're going to be putting in a 6 mil piece of glass, 10 mil cavity, 6 mil piece of glass, 10 mil and 6 mil. Now, to fit all this in, there is certain measurements. This sash here has to fit in to the frame head here. So it has to fit into here. So the first thing we'll take out is we'll take out a rebate. So our rebate that we're taking out is 35 by 10. Then we measure out, so if I sketch out this sash, what it looks like when it's made from one piece of timber, the first thing we'll take out, it will take out a rebate that is 35 by 10 and get rid of that piece of wood. Then we have this outer corner here. Now, dealing with the outer corner here, we'll put on a slant on our window here. So we'll put a slant on this sash here just to throw off any rain that falls on this surface. Then we'll draw out another rebate. Now, the other rebate, to find its position on the lower corner here, it's measure in 10 and down 10. And we take out a rebate along here. Now, this whole rebate is taken out here. So all this section is taken out, and this is what our sash looks like. And then it's a matter of just putting in the glass. Now, so on our drawing, to position this, first thing we'll do on our drawing is measure up here 10 mil. So up 10 mil on our drawing. Now, looking at our measurement on our drawing, this is 35 mil. The whole width of the section here is 25 or 55 mil. So there's a 20 mil piece of timber here. So we start off with finding that position up here. So we measure out our 20 mil here, find this position. Now we can measure down our 60 mil. So our 60 mil scale 1:5 means that we have to measure down 12 mil on our drawing. Then bring a line straight in, and then from the inside of the top rebate bring a line straight down. So to go through that again, from this point here we're going to measure up 10, from this point out 20. This point here then measure down our 60 mil, then bring this line in, and that finds the inside of this sash for the window. Then we're going to draw out this section inside here. So the section inside here is 10 and 10. So to start drawing lines in heavy, then we draw this line, which is 10. We draw in the full inside of the sash. Then we draw the rebate. Then we bring this line. And looking at the head of the, or the sash of the window, there would be a slant on this sash. So from this inner point here that we measure up 10, we draw a slope here, any angle, and then match it up. Now, that's the sash of the window there. The next stage then is to start placing in glass. Now, to place in glass, the easiest way to do it is looking at the thickness of the glass. Glass is 6 mil, so scale 1 is 10. We're going to make it 1 mil. Then the cavity is 10 mil, so we'll make 2 mil. So 1 mil, 2 mil, 1 mil. So, on your drawing then, you bring down your lines. So there are layers of glass there. Now, we make them all the same length. And then, where it connects onto the frame then, we'll just shade in the top section here. And the reason you shade in the top section here is to show that the glass is fitted into a seal in against the frame here. So this piece here is just shaded in. Next, put in timber. And we put in a capillary groove here as well. And the reason for the capillary groove up here is so that any rainfall that gets in here seeps down along here and drips down along the side of the window. Now, there will be a seal placed in here as well, a rubber seal in timber windows to prevent any moisture getting in there. Now, that's the top section there. It's repeat the whole exercise again when it comes to the lower section here. So, the easiest way to do this is bring our lines straight down and then start measuring again. So, to start measuring again, from this point this time, measure down 10 mil. Then measure out your 20 mil. Then the size of the window 60. And the best way of doing this drawing is actually by drawing the full square first and then taking pieces out of it. So this here is the inside frame here. The next section then is to measure in here 10. Bring our line down, measure down 10. Draw our line across here. And again at the bottom sash here, there's going to be a capillary groove here to throw off any rainwater. And it's all about trying to prevent any rainwater escaping in. Now, put in the symbol for timber. And then put in our glass. So our glass should line up, so it's a matter of just matching it up. Now we'll shade in the bottom section here. Now there's no set measurements for this bottom section here, so I tend to shade up about 5 mil on the drawing here, just to show how the glass is fitted into that unit. Now, the final stage of this drawing then is basically label every section of it. And the easiest way to label any of these sections is by placing a number here on whichever part, inner leaf, write the number out here to the side of the drawing, and then write down each component. So, to do this, basically what we would do is come along here, write in number 1 here, 2 for insulation, possibly go with the concrete windowsill then as 3, DPC here would be 4, and so on, and label the whole drawing. Do the same with the head of the drawing, and then write each of the numbers down along the right hand side and write in what it represents. In the leave insert, what you're given is there is 3 marks given for drawing any of these components, and there's 1 mark going for labeling it. So a quarter of the marks are going for the actual label. Now that finishes off that drawing. So that's the entire window drawing done. So if we position it here, now the final section or final piece of this drawing here, placing in plaster at the top of the wall here. Don't forget to do it at the end. So placing this in here, placing this in here. Now what we'll do here, put in a couple dots here just to represent the sand that's placed in here, that's in the actual render on the outside, plaster on the inside, so a few dots here. Now this frame head here is held in position by this plaster. It's also held in with metal clips that go from the frame head here into the blockwork. Now in recent years, houses have become airtight. Now, to create an airtight seal here between the window and the blockwork, we draw in a red line here, and a red line across here onto the actual blockwork. Now, that red line there represents, we'll say, an airtight seal. So what happens when you're creating an airtight seal, a specialist comes along and tapes around all the windows to create this airtight seal. So it's placed here, and it's also placed underneath here, just above DPC, and up along the section of the window here. So a lot of the time it's placed up along here just to create that airtight seal. Now the last 2 lines to be drawn on this drawing then is a line going from the head all the way down to the sill. And what it is, it's a heavy line. Now this heavy line from the plaster, the outside of the plaster, all the way down to the outside of the plaster in plan. Now do the same, this section here on the inner. Now what this is representing here, this here is representing the inner wall of the house. This here is representing the outer wall of the house. And that's the entire drawing finished into Leave Insert Standard.